Beautiful British Columbia, one of the most spectacular settings in the world. Here are scenes wild and untamed, elegant and serene, from cattle roundups and a grizzly bear sanctuary to whale watching and hang gliding. All captured in beautiful British Columbia, moments of discovery. For information on this great video series, call 1-800-663-7611. Collect them all, from the parks of BC to Cariboo, Chilcotin, the last frontier.
Hello, I'm Malcolm Stewart, your guide to these moments of discovery in beautiful British Columbia. That extraordinary sweep of lakes and forests, ranches and rivers, hoodoos and hideaways between the Rockies and the Pacific. The series is presented by Beautiful British Columbia magazine and the Knowledge Network. Our destination today is BC's central interior, much of it ranch country in the Cariboo Chilcotin. Chilcotin, named for the people who first lived here, and caribou, named for the big antlered animal that is a relative of the reindeer. You know, this may be one of the final frontiers, the last of the Old West. In the town of Clinton, for example, north of Cache Creek, a sign on the main street reads "Horse Parking Only." And the local Sawbones has a sign near his hitching rail that declares "Bones set, blood let, holes patched, babies hatched." So let's saddle up and ride into Chilcotin country. We'll follow Highway 20 west from Williams Lake and along the way discover places like Risky Creek and Farwell Canyon.
There is a part of British Columbia that few of us ever visit. It's a big place that stretches from the Fraser River west of Williams Lake to the coastal mountains in the Bella Coola Valley. It's a place covered with forests of jack pine and wide open plains with meandering rivers and breathtaking scenery. This is Chilcotin country. A journey into the Chilcotin starts here, where Highway 20 crosses the Fraser River at the Sheep Creek Bridge near Williams Lake and climbs up to the Chilcotin Plateau. This area is rich in history and small pioneer communities with names like Alexis Creek, Clean and Tatla Lake dot the highway. But it's not the towns that make this area so special. It's the scenery. It's the people. It's the way of life.
Well, for one thing, it's probably the last easily accessed frontier in the world, perhaps, eh? Certainly one of the best western frontiers, anyway, with everything it's got to offer, because spectacular fishing, the climate is very good, there aren't too many people, and the scenery is just out of this world.
A side trip off the highway near the town of Risky Creek takes visitors to the spectacular chasms of Farwell Canyon. Over the centuries, the Chilcotin River has carved a winding path through the plateau's sandy soil, leaving hundreds of mysterious hoodoos standing high above the river's edge. Native Indians can sometimes be seen here dip netting for salmon, just as they have for hundreds of years. Travelers who visit this magnificent canyon should take care. This is logging country, and cars must share these roads with huge logging trucks hauling their loads to nearby mills. Ranching has always been a way of life in the Chilcotin, and it remains so today. Not surprisingly, people come from all over the world to visit guest ranches and experience this wide open, Wild West country where riders can go for days and not see a building a road, or even another person. Here and there along the highway are rustic lodges and campgrounds, where the fishing is legendary and the view is free. Nimpo Lake has been called the float plane capital of British Columbia, and serious anglers use lodges here as base camps to fly into the hundreds of nearby lakes for some of the best sport fishing in the world. Highway 20 is paved for nearly half of its 500-kilometer distance, with good gravel on the rest. But just west of the town of Anaheim Lake is a stretch of road that has become somewhat of a legend. Locals call it the Hill. The Hill is a series of steep switchbacks cut into the mountainside and winding 1,300 meters from the top of the plateau to the Bella Coola Valley below. It was built in the early 1950s by the people of Bella Coola to provide the residents of this isolated valley with an overland route to the rest of British Columbia. Alf Bracewell operated one of the machines that completed the road in 1953.
I would guess it's about 90% grade, I mean the side hill. So when you try digging out a flat place, most of the flat place goes down into the creek. But then we could cheat pretty good too. Any brush that would hang up on the edge, we put a little dirt over that, and that made it passable, made a road. A lot of people have enjoyed that hill. It scared the pants off a lot of them. A few of them have flown out, and some of them walked up and down, but a lot of them have driven, so the majority have driven, so I think it was a winner there. So.
For those who master the hill, and it's really not so bad, the road passes through Tweedsmuir Provincial Park and the picturesque communities of Furvale and Hagensborg as the Bella Coola Valley opens up on its way to the sea. Throughout the valley are magnificent vistas of the Coast Mountains, and a short trip into the New Satsum Valley treats visitors to views of the immense Purgatory Glacier. Nearby are salmon spawning streams, where it is not uncommon to find a grizzly bear wading through the shallows in search of a meal. Finally, the highway ends in the quiet fishing community of Bella Coola. Here, travelers can board a ferry and sail along British Columbia's Inside Passage to Port Hardy and Vancouver Island. Or they can simply turn around and return the way they came, back through that wonderful country called Chilcotin.
Cariboo, Chilcotin, territory that reminds you of westerns like Red River and Lonesome Dove. And thinking of popular adventures, do you remember The 39 Steps? It was one of several novels written by John Buchan, whose formal designation was Baron Tweedsmuir of Ellsfield, Canada's Governor-General from 1935 to 1940. Now, during this time, he traveled through British Columbia's wilderness interior between Bella Coola and Anaheim Lake. This area has since become the largest of the province's parks. Its name, in honor of its vice-regal visitor, Tweedsmuir Provincial Park.
Tweedsmuir, the largest provincial park in British Columbia. Located in the west-central area of the province, Tweedsmuir covers 981,000 hectares of wilderness, from the interior plateau to the coast mountains. Access to the park is from Highway 20, which connects Williams Lake and Bella Coola by 300 miles of mostly gravel road. In the southern part of the park lies the Rainbow Mountains Nature Conservancy area, accessible from Highway 20 and the new Alexander Mackenzie Heritage Trail. The Rainbow Range, with its multicolored rock and varied wildlife, has become a popular destination for serious hikers. South of the Rainbow Range on Turner Lake is Hunland Wilderness Camp. Hunland Camp provides access to a 7-lake canoe chain and offers campsites and some basic housekeeping cabins. The camp is managed on behalf of the Parks Branch by John Edwards, son of famous BC pioneer Ralph Edwards.
Hunter Wilderness Camp on Turner Lake exists for supplying services and information to people who like a quiet, clean, unspoiled wilderness to spend their vacation time. And access to the area, you have several choices. You can fly to the paved Anaheim Airport about 25 miles east of here and then come in by charter plane, or you can drive down to the park headquarters in the Narco Valley and come in by 12 miles of hiking trail, which brings you to the north end of the lake. We have canoeing, camping, hiking, swimming, fishing for cutthroat trout. But most people come here because it's quiet. It's away from the thundering herds.
2,000 feet below Hunland Camp is Lonesome Lake, where John was born and lived with his remarkable pioneering family. The Edwards story and their efforts to save the trumpeter swan from extinction are documented in the book Crusoe of Lonesome Lake. One of the major attractions in South Tweedsmuir Park is spectacular Hunland Falls, which drops 1,300 feet from Turner Lake to the Etnarco River Valley below. Tweedsmuir Provincial Park is truly a wilderness area with very few tourist facilities. However, visitors who are completely self-sufficient or prepared to hire a professional guide will find unlimited outdoor recreation opportunities and some of the most breathtaking scenery in North America.
Tweedsmuir, British Columbia's largest provincial park, named for the Governor-General, better known as John Buchan. Among the things that we can thank him for, establishing the annual Governor-General's Literary Awards. Now, from Tweedsmuir, we spur our cayuses east and raise dust on the way to the Williams Lake Stampede, a rodeo that brings riders from all over North America. The cowboys are eager to bust out of their chutes, and so are the broncs and the bulls.
Williams Lake is known worldwide for our stampede, and we're proud of it. The Williams Lake Stampede, of course, is set in a natural rodeo bowl and setting. The grandstand does protect the spectators from the weather, although generally it is nice. The competitors, of course, come because we're one of the largest rodeos in Canada as far as purses are concerned, and without the competitors and the spectators, we wouldn't have the successful rodeo, and everybody enjoys coming to Williams Lake because it is successful. There's something for everyone. Truly there is, and if there isn't, we'll find something for them.
Cowboys really like this rodeo. You know why? I think, again, it goes back to because we try to put it on in the real atmosphere, the authentic Western atmosphere. We have excellent grounds. We try to treat them just great because they're only here for a couple hours sometimes and they're gone again, but we want them to remember Williams Lake. And they all do. They come back year after year.
Let's go, boys.
The Williams Lake Stampede is a great time because there's lots to do, different things to see, and there's things for everybody.
Probably the biggest family-orientated rodeo and sporting event that goes on in the interior of BC.
Well, just come and be prepared to have a good time.
Williams Lake is one of the places to be.
The Williams Lake Stampede, one of the year's great events in BC's Cariboo country. You know, it reminds me of an old Bronc Busters rhyme. There was never a horse that couldn't be rode, and never a cowboy that couldn't be throwed. Rodeo riding is the glamorous side of a cowboy's life, but now we're going to see the day-to-day work of the Chilcotin Ranch, a big spread about 200 kilometers west of Williams Lake, where we'll condense 12 months of ranch life into 12 minutes.
The Chilcotin region of south-central BC is ranch country. Settled in the 1800s, raising cattle was an early way of life that has continued to the present day. 200 kilometers west of Williams Lake, Chilcotin Ranch is one of BC's largest, maintaining 2,000 head of cattle. Historically, horses and cowhands provided the muscle to run a ranch, but today, tractors and trucks pull farm equipment and haul the supplies. Over the years, the ranch has expanded, but with mechanization, only a handful of people are needed to run Chilcotin. For some work, the old ways are still the best, and cutting cattle is a job that is still performed on horseback. Cows and calves are separated from those taken to market. They are carefully driven into a pen where the wranglers slowly single out the animals that will remain. Teamwork and horsemanship are essential to this job. The Chilcotin River flows through the ranch and normally provides water for the cattle. When the temperature drops, the ice is thick enough to drive a truck on, and it becomes a daily chore to access the water. Ollie Knoll was born in 1913, a few miles from Chilcotin Ranch. In 1926, the Knoll family bought the property, and it expanded over the years as neighboring ranches were added. Ollie has spent his life here and endured many cold Chilcotin winters.
The last winter was a very mild winter. 1 or 2 days were just about 40 below zero. But in 48, 49, 72 for 3 days. And for 32 days, the warmest it got was 30 below zero. And I tell you, it was cold. I tell you, north wind blowing. Oh, Jesus. I've never want to see another one like that. But you know, go out and get your horses and harness them up and hook them on a sleigh, and away you go. Cold, warm, north wind blowing. You know, that was it. No choice. When the weather was nice, fine, sure. When one of those came along, it's not that great.
Because snow cover prevents cattle from feeding, hay is trucked to them daily for most of the winter. Before tractors, cowhands pitched hay off large horse-drawn sleighs. But today, this chore is performed by one person and a unique machine. Machines don't do all the feeding. The animals who are ill and the very young need to be hand-fed every day in all kinds of weather. While spring flooding rejuvenates the pasture, roundup becomes more difficult. Cows and calves are gathered for branding prior to their release on the summer ranges. Branding is a proven method for identifying one ranch's cattle from the next. At Chilcotin Ranch, branding is still performed the old-fashioned way. Being a cowboy was not what lured Bill Coulthard to Chilcotin Ranch. Raising his son here was foremost.
I'm not really that fond of being a cowboy. That part of it, the machinery, I always did like machinery, but I learned how to do the cowboying end of it because it had to be done. Not that I liked it, it just had to be done, and I got so that I could do it just as good as anybody. I was living in Williams Lake at the time when I come out here to work, just to teach my kid how to do different things with his hands. You learn how to do, it's everything. You're riding a horse and you're running machinery. You learn how to think. We have a lot of conveniences here too, like we have television to watch and stuff. I'm sure there's some things like swimming and hockey and stuff that a kid may miss. But he still learns to do things with his hands.
Hay stands tall in the pasture that was a lake only a few months earlier. When weather permits, the mature hay is cut and piled. Each 2-ton stack feeds 1 cow for the winter, and the 2,000 head of cattle on this ranch require 4,000 tons of hay. Prior to mechanization, a small town of people were needed to run a ranch like Chilcotin. Horses and the sweat of many cowhands furnished the energy for jobs like haying. Over the years, Ollie and Bill have witnessed many changes.
We had about 40, 50 teams here, and in summertime employing, we'd have, around 30, 40 people helping out in the fields, some cutting, some raking, some shocking, some stacking, the whole bit.
And now we're putting up more hay in less time with this machinery. Like there's, I think, 5 of us here haying the same land where it used to take about 50 or 60 people.
Yeah, there used to be a lot of people around here when, this ranch here and the Maxwells and the Mulvihills and the Boyds and then the Rosses, which now, what is there now? Nothing, not a thing.
You know, there used to be quite a community here. They had a store and a post office and a school. That's all gone. You know, they started busing kids to school, and there wasn't enough people around to keep the store open. There isn't even a school here anymore, or a post office.
The season's first snowfall brings cattle back to the ranch from their summer ranges. Those that don't return are rounded up. Ranching is not easy, but for Bill, it beats the other options.
What do you want out of life? You know, it depends on what you want. Like, money isn't everything, or a big fancy car or a big fancy house in town. That, if you're happy with what you're doing and happy the way you live, you know, you only get 3 meals a day and a place to sleep anyway, and it doesn't know what you're doing. And to me, to get into a rat race where there's 10,000 automobiles going back and forth, I can't see it. The one thing I always said is, you know, if a mosquito can't live, a man must be abusing himself too. You never see a mosquito in Vancouver, and there's lots of them here in the summertime. And wherever a mosquito lives, I think that's where I'd sooner live.
Over the years, communities have disappeared and road conditions have improved in the Chilcotin. Today, it's a few hours, not days, to Williams Lake. And satellite TV brings the outside world to Chilcotin Ranch. Despite the modernization of this Wild West, it's still the rugged breed who calls the Chilcotin home. Ranches have endured largely because the hardy souls involved chose ranching, not just as a business, but more importantly, as a way of life.
A year in the life of the Chilcotin Ranch. You know, I kind of like that fella's philosophy. Where a mosquito can live, a man can live. He's right, you know. You hardly ever see a mosquito in a bumper-to-bumper rush hour traffic jam. Well, now we're moving off the range and onto the rails. You remember those two-man vehicles called speeders that used to race up and down the railroad tracks? Well, two railroad buffs in the town of Brookmere restored one, and back when the tracks of the old Kettle Valley Railroad line were still in place, they enjoyed roaring along them, and so did we.
The legendary Kettle Valley Railroad was completed during the First World War. It serviced the area between Hope and the West Kootenai for over 70 years before the steel rail fell silent to progress. Today, most of what remains are photographic memories of whistle stops with Shakespearean names, old engines and station houses, and the faces of railroaders who kept those engines and everything else running. But recently, the silence of the rail was broken by the long-forgotten sound of an old friend.
You want me to start it? You betcha.
Just east of the Coquihalla summit, near the quiet little village of Brookmere, two members of the West Coast Railway Association arrived with their restored old Fairmount speeder. Their mission? Not only to have fun doing what they love best, but also to bring back life to those historic rails, if only for a moment.
Wow, and don't think our camera crew didn't have fun riding the rails with the Kettle Valley speeder. Now let's travel at a more leisurely pace down the North Thompson River as the Dogwood Canoe Club sets off on its annual Thanksgiving journey. Canoeists start out at Little Fort and paddle almost 100 kilometers to Heffley Creek near Kamloops, an autumn adventure for the families who make up the Dogwood Canoe Club.
You got a spare paddle and the baler?
Yeah.
You got a spare paddle and bailers and life jackets. And...
Hello.
Hi, you got a baler?
Yeah, it's back there.
Okay. You got a spare paddle?
Yeah.
All right. Two spare paddles, such a deal. You got a spare paddle, guys?
Yes, sir.
And a baler?
Yes, sir.
Good deal. Good deal. There's nothing serious between here and Heffley Creek Rapids to worry about. It's pretty well as you see it here, maybe a little quicker in places, a little slower in places. But other than that, it's just a straightforward paddle. Normally when we're paddling on a trip like this, if some of the faster guys get ahead, they normally raft up together and drift waiting for the other guys to catch up. So maybe we do that a little bit more often and we'll stay together as a group. Other than that, I've checked everybody's canoes out. You all appear to have your proper safety gear and to be in fine shape, so let's get at her. Okay, have a good trip and a good holiday.
Since 1964, the Lower Mainland-based Dogwood Canoe Club has been organizing day trips and camping trips throughout the Pacific Northwest. On Thanksgiving weekend, a large spirited group of club members takes their annual trip down the North Thompson River. The canoes put in just south of Clearwater in the town of Little Fort. Paddling with the current, the club members spend the next 3 days winding their way downstream to Heffley Creek, approximately 60 miles south.
Dave has taken up his usual position, 150 yards behind the last canoe.
Yeah, you want to pull out on this bar and have a lunch?
Lunch gives the campers a chance to share the warmth of food, fire, and friendship.
While going camping, I just about like anything. And everything seems to taste so much better than at home. Yeah.
Go ahead, Wally, show us how tough you are. Eat it raw. And we'll do it.
You know, he's really cracking the jokes now, eh? That's one of the problems. It's hard to converse when you've got a mouthful.
Right now there are about 100 family members. We don't have individual memberships, we base it on family, so we roughly estimate there's about 300 people belonging in the club. They come from various walks. We have a lot of school teachers, obviously, because they get the 2 months off in the summertime and they like paddling and going for long holidays, but it's from every walk of life. And it's funny, a lot of times we don't know what people do because it's just not discussed. They get together for their common like.
Most of the Thompson is smooth as a pond this time of year, so club members can relax on this last outing of the season and enjoy the autumn colors. A campsite is selected in plenty of time to set up before dark. Evening meals are determined by what they've packed or by what they've caught. It makes little difference. Whatever is had seems better after a day on the river.
What are you having for dinner tonight, Bob?
Oysters, smoked oysters.
And I'm salted peanuts. I like belonging to the Dogwood Canoe Club because of the members. We all have the same thing in common. We like the outdoors, we like the quiet waters, so everybody is really quite compatible on that day, and age has absolutely no bearing in the club. You get along with the younger folks just as well as the older people. It's just a very common interest that everybody has.
100 kilometers paddling down the North Thompson River. I got worn out just watching. Well, that winds up our travels through BC's interior, the Cariboo and Chilcotin. We've covered it by canoe, horseback, and railroad speeder. There's lots more to discover in this endlessly fascinating, ever-challenging, amazingly diverse province. And we'd like to share it all with you. For the Knowledge Network and beautiful British Columbia Magazine, I'm Malcolm Stewart, inviting you to join us again for Moments of Discovery.
part of the adventure all year long with a subscription to beautiful British Columbia magazine. A one-year subscription sent anywhere in the world is just $19.95, all taxes and shipping included. Call toll-free 1-800-663-7611. And with this special home video offer, you'll receive a free scenic calendar with the winter issue. Call now. Gift orders welcome.
To create this video series, Beautiful British Columbia Magazine and the Knowledge Network have come together, compiling a lasting record of this part of the world for you to visit again and again. And here's something you'll want on your travels: the Beautiful BC Travel Guide. You know, I am never without mine, and it was a labor of love for editor Cheryl Kuhl, who spent years compiling it. And Beautiful British Columbia Magazine updates it regularly. It logs every highway and every point of interest along the way. The travel guide has everything you'd ever want to know, and it makes it so easy to get anywhere you'd ever want to go in this spectacular province.